Hello, beautiful people. In today's episode, I get the pleasure of speaking to Humphrey Yang, and Humphrey is a personal finance expert, and he's got more than 1 million followers on TikTok. We spoke about that, how he managed to gain 1 million followers, and what he is doing on YouTube. And what I loved about this conversation was how open and honest Humphrey was about the struggles of being a TikTok creator. And it was something that it was a very self-aware take. We went into habits as well and really enjoyed this conversation. Have to give a shout out to my friend Du, who told me that I should have Humphrey on the podcast. Really appreciate that because it turned out into a great conversation. If you enjoyed this episode, as always, let me know on Twitter at @HeyDannyMiranda. I love your feedback. I love hearing what you have to say about the episode. And let's get right to it, guys.
Interesting people, thought-provoking conversations, nutrition for your brain. Journey through the minds of the world's top performers and discover what it really takes to achieve your highest version. This is the Danny Miranda Podcast.
All right, so first of all, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. And for people who don't know who Humphrey Yang is, tell everyone just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say I like to call myself an entrepreneur, but obviously, online, anybody can be an entrepreneur, and I feel like it's kind of sometimes a misleading title. But I do a little bit of everything. I used to work for a mobile gaming company, and I learned a lot about how to basically make money on app games. And I kind of took that knowledge. I started my own e-commerce store right after that, and so that's actually how I met Ian, which is one of your guests. Is I actually have a cousin who is Ian's friend, and I kind of met him through my cousin. But my cousin knew that I was running an e-commerce store back in 2017, all the way to this year. But more notably, as of late, I've been making videos on YouTube and TikTok, and I've had some success there. It just really exploded this whole year. So I've been making videos since last year on TikTok, and then on YouTube, I've been trying to make videos there since March or April of this year, and I'm having some success there. So that's how most people know me these days, I would say. But I mean, it's only been a year since I've been making these videos, so it seems all pretty quick to me. Yeah, is that a good summary?
Yeah, I think so, man. So talk to me. So here's the thing. We have you in 2019 just starting to put out videos. And now you have over 1 million followers on TikTok and a lot of subscribers on YouTube. I don't know how many exactly, but people don't normally have that type of quote-unquote overnight success. Why do you think you've been successful in a span of 1 year when other people have been grinding at this for years and haven't seen as much success or traction on their content? What separates you from the ability to just go from zero to tens of thousands basically in 1 year overnight?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that, so basically I made some YouTube videos last July, and this was before I made a TikTok video ever. So I made like 3 YouTube videos, right? And they flopped. I mean, I got like 10 views, 20 views on them, and those were mostly my friends, or like me rewatching my own video like 3 times. And so I kind of gave up on the whole thing because, so my videos are on personal finance, and I've always watched a lot of YouTubers on personal finance. So I'm a big fan of Graham Stephan. And there are some other bigger YouTubers I watch on personal finance. And I used to just come home, every day after work, or I would just be at home, working on something on my own. And then one of their YouTube videos would pop up, and I just kind of have it on in the background. And I always enjoyed learning about personal finance. And I've been passionate about personal finance on my own. So I've always kind of had that dream to want to have my own channel. And that was my attempt at it in July. But I would say one of the biggest reasons I was successful on TikTok, especially, is because I adopted to it quite early. I would say for my age, I'm over 30, right? And most people that are over 30 aren't using TikTok. especially last year, in the middle of last year, in the summer of 2019, not many people were using TikTok at all above the age of, let's say, I don't know, 25. Like, I had heard about it, and I knew that, younger people were using it. And so back in July, I decided to download it. And I would watch a video here and there, and I think it's pretty funny. But, at the time when the algorithm doesn't really know you, you just get fed a lot of, like, underage girls dancing. And so it can be kind of a turnoff for newer people, I would say, especially older people. But, I kept an eye on the app itself. And then at some point in, like, August and September or October, I realized the app was, like, super addictive, right? Like, I'm spending a good 30, 40 minutes watching it a night, and I really enjoy it. And so I started kind of exploring, like, what kind of content was on there. And I kind of was looking, I was like, hey, are there any people making finance videos on TikTok? And there's, like, one guy, he was making, like, stock videos. He still makes stock videos to this day. And he's one of my friends now on one of the chats that we have. But there's really only one creator on there, or one or two maybe, and the rest were kind of spammy accounts, like, hey, take my, like, $20,000 course, I'll make, 10K overnight or whatever. So you had a lot of those guys, but there wasn't, like, an authority on personal finance on TikTok. And so I figured if I can just start making videos on TikTok, maybe I could be like a Graham Stephan on TikTok, right? And then that could kind of start my YouTube career, if you will. I've always wanted to do YouTube, so, like, I kind of just viewed TikTok as, like, something for fun. But here's the reason I think it really started is I started on December 26th, and that's when I made a goal for myself. I said, hey, I'm going to make a video every day for 30 days, and I'm just going to see how it goes. Originally, it was a New Year's resolution kind of thing, but on December 26th, I was like, oh, I might as well just start it now. Like, why am I waiting 5 days to start my 30-day challenge here? So I just started making a video a day, and I would force myself to kind of come up with an idea and really try to tell it in a good story. And I just think that there was an appetite for that type of content on TikTok because no one was doing it. So one, I was an early adopter, to answer your question. And two, I was simplifying personal finance in a way that a lot of kids can understand. And I've always kind of done that with my own friends. So I have friends that come up to me and they ask me about personal finance stuff, and I try to explain it to them in the most simplest way possible. And so that was kind of my mantra for my content. It was like, okay, how can I explain this within 60 seconds? Because that's the time frame of a TikTok. And I started seeing some success there. Like, I made one video on, like, stock dividends, I believe. That was, like, one of the videos that got me to, like, 1,000 followers on TikTok. And then, like, a few days later, I made a video on, like, how I was able to back out the cost of goods of a hydro flask. And that was from my e-commerce experience, right? Like, I already knew how to find a supplier on, like, Alibaba, right? And so I was able to find a supplier on Alibaba. I was able to email that supplier. I was able to figure out what they were charging for, let's say, like 1,000 of them, right? And so I was kind of just walking TikTok through the process of how I would do that, starting from the Hydro Flask website. And that video went viral on TikTok, and that got me from, like, let's say, I don't know, I had, like, maybe 2,000 followers. It got me all the way to, like, 120,000 followers, like, instantly. And so I really think that it was kind of a stroke of luck, but also because I was just kind of making a video a day, and I even posted a video the next day, right? Because that's one of the things that people that go viral are afraid of. Is like, okay, well, my next video is not going to be as good, and definitely it's not going to be as good as your viral hit. But I just kept with the process of one a day, and then let's see, I got to 30 days, and I was like, oh, well, I'm having a lot of success here. I might as well just go for 60 days. And then I got to the 60th day, and I was like, okay, might as well go for the 90th day, right? So I got the 90 days in a row, and then I was like, okay, I'm at 90, I might as well go for 100. So I went for 100. And then after I hit 100, I just kept making them every day because I was a habit at this point. So this is all about process and forming good habits, which I'm sure you probably talked to Ian about. But I kept going, and by like the 150th day, it would feel weird if I didn't make one. Mm-hmm. So I kept going. I got to like 270 days, and that was probably right after I hit 1 million followers on TikTok. And then I kind of had a little, that was like last month, and I kind of reevaluated what my goals were. But that's why I think I was successful is 1, early adoption, 2, explaining things really easy, and 3, consistency. So with content creation, consistency is really key, and that's what a lot of bigger content creators will say. So yeah, I would say those 3 things.
Makes so much sense.
That was a long-winded answer.
No, dude, that was so valuable, and I appreciate that perspective so much. And what I'm curious about, so you touched on the habits, and I want to get to that in the future of this episode. But my first question is, at what point of that 30 days did you have that viral video?
It was like day 17 or something like that. I actually have it. I track everything too, so I can tell you the exact day. Let's see. I'm on my computer. It was the 17th day exactly, but before the 17th day, I had made 4 or 5 videos on TikTok in November and December, just kind of messing around. But for example, it was like the 10th day when I made that dividend video that got me from like 0 to like 1,000 subscribers or something like that. Not subscribers, followers. And then, my bad, I had like 15,000 followers when I made the hydroplast video. That went viral. That ultimately took me to like 125,000 after 4 more days. So
you're someone who tracks things really specifically, it sounds like. So talk to us about some of the things that you are tracking in your spreadsheets. Is it just followers? And if you put out a video, what is the tracking that you're using?
Initially it was just like, okay, what day is it today and what video did I put out? Right. So December 26th, I put out a video called "What's an Emergency Fund?" That was the topic. And some of these videos are really short. Like some of them are like 10 seconds long. Like, because I just wanted to really focus on getting the process down, I would just, even if it was a bad video, I just wanted to make sure I put one out. But yeah, initially it's just date. And then I tracked what topic I talked about and the follower count that I had. But as I got into like, I think it was like the 6th month or something like that, I started to track not only follower count, but I tracked like watch time, so average watch time of all my videos, because in the TikTok analytics you can kind of see how long something is watched. And I also tracked on a very broad basis if the video did well or not. So like if the video did well, I basically highlighted that row green and a different color of green, right? So like if it did kind of okay, it would be like a light green. If it did good, it would be a darker green. And then if it went viral, it would be like the darkest of all greens. And I didn't track if it did bad or not. I just tracked if they did good. So now I have like this whole Rolodex of all the topics I've done, right? And I know which topics do well. So this really helped me because after a while with personal finance, you run out of topics, right? So there's only so many topics you can kind of talk about on personal finance. So basically, after a while, you kind of want to recycle your content or repackage it in a way to tell it differently, but it's still the same topic, if that makes sense. And so I've actually had a lot of success growing the channel or growing my channel. Taking, for example, that dividend video that did well for me on day 10, I was able to tell that dividend story in a different type of way on TikTok, like 4 different ways. And each time it goes viral. I don't know why, but I guess dividends on TikTok. So, to people listening, don't copy. Well, yeah, go ahead and copy. But like talking about dividends for some reason really appeals to TikTok. Like the fact that like you can make money, owning a stock passively, right? Something there resonates with the TikTok audience. So I've, over the past 9 months, I've made 4 or 5 dividend videos, and it's been 2 months since I've done a dividend video, so I might do another one soon. And the idea is that the TikTok algorithm only really kind of seeds content from the past like 60 to 90 days. So all your old videos are kind of just, no one's watching them anymore. And if you gain all these new followers, well, that's going to be fresh content for them. And you'll kind of see the same thing on YouTube. Actually, I've noticed Graham Stephan will make another Roth IRA video every 6 to 12 months. And that's just kind of like, a new way to get more people into his like channel funnel, and also just a new way to kind of present the information, because it's not always the same. Like, don't obviously make the same exact video, even though some people will repost their own videos. But I found that yes. So that was another long-winded answer. Sorry about that. But yeah, I track everything. I track average watch time. I kind of stopped tracking average watch time now, but I still, in my spreadsheet, I'll still put in what topics I talk about, and I kind of plan ahead as well. So now these days, I actually plan 5 or 6 TikToks in advance, and I try to like vary the topics so that I'm talking about different stuff all the time.
I love the analytical approach of it, because I think so many people, they'll start and they'll be like, all right, I'm going to do X number of content every one piece of content a day or 2 pieces of content a week, and they won't really have any way to track if they're actually getting better or what people are actually enjoying listening to or watching. And I think that's super valuable, and I think that there's really something there for people who are creating content or people who are doing anything. Tracking is such an important way, and it goes hand in hand with personal finance too, so it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I realize it's a little type A for some people. Like, some creators do really well just not tracking anything, and they just some of their best ideas come last minute, for example, and it's just like a really good meme or like a really good piece of content. And so, it doesn't work for everybody, but for me, I find that having tracking for TikTok and I have tracking for all other parts of my life help me. So that's why I like it. If you're making content or you're starting content fresh, I don't think it's a must, but it definitely can't hurt is always my kind of philosophy there.
Yeah. So kind of switching gears a little bit, one thing I wanted to talk to you about was how TikTok has impacted your brain. And what I mean by that is like, I spent about a month or 2 on TikTok in, I don't know, January of this year, January of 2020. And I was overwhelmed, man. The algorithm's so good, and I had to delete the app because I was like, this is like, I feel my brain differently on this app. So do you feel that at all? Or what's your consumption like on TikTok versus what you put out, and have you noticed any difference in how you feel after consuming it?
I would say the algorithm is very good, and it is the only platform in which you don't really have a choice, right? Like on YouTube, you can go kind of surf and figure out what video you want to watch, or on Netflix, you can kind of look at what there's browsing, right? On TikTok, you just serve whatever is given to you. And the algorithm is really good in that it gets once it gets to know who you are, it's really crazy. Every video is something you basically want to watch, like 90% of the time. It's like it's something so viral and gets you in particular so interested that you can spend an hour on it and not even realize an hour has passed, which is kind of unhealthy. I would say my consumption these days is I'll consume content on there in between tasks sometimes. Like I'll just if I have 5 minutes, I might watch 5 minutes of TikTok, but I try to just stop myself, because if you don't stop yourself, or if you don't stay regimented in your day, it can really take over your life. And I definitely understand why you would uninstall it. But I sometimes kind of treat it as work too. Like I need to watch content to figure out what's kind of trending, and also what the latest things are on TikTok, because sometimes knowing a good trending sound can also get you a lot of views as well. Mm-hmm. That's something I've been trying to be better at. But basically, like if I see a trending sound and it can be applied to personal finance, I'm going to make something on that. I haven't done that very often in the past. Most of my videos are just straight education. But when I do make like kind of like a meme or a trending sound with personal finance intertwined, it usually does really well, and it takes like half the effort, or maybe like 1/5 of the effort that making a real piece of content does. To answer your question, I probably watch between 30 minutes and an hour of it a day, but I don't really like it. I don't like that I watch so much of it. I also don't like how my attention span is not very long on TikTok. So like I'll swipe away if it doesn't grab me in the first 5 seconds, which is kind of good, because now I know what works and what doesn't on TikTok, right? But at the same time, it's like, well, it's probably not giving great feedback loops to my brain. I would say the more detrimental part of TikTok, at least for content creation for me, was when your video does go really viral, you feel really good because you're getting all these notifications, and every time you refresh, you get so many. It's a really cool feeling. But then you're left after that. After that, you're left chasing that feeling, and then if your videos flop, you feel really bad. And so that's another thing is like now these days I'm just trying to stick to a process rather than results, because for a while like I was getting really like I would have a bad day if I only got like let's say 10,000 views and my average views were like 50,000 at the time, for example. I feel bad about myself or something like that. But these days, as long as I'm putting out some content and I think it's valuable, I try not to worry too much about what the numbers say, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's really valuable for you to talk about this as someone who's over 30, because there are kids that are dealing with this right now who don't have the level of experience that you have to realize like, oh, wow, I feel really good after getting a bunch of likes and I don't feel good after not getting a lot of likes. And I think when you're introduced to this at such a young age, it's hard to be self-aware of that. So yeah, it's really cool that you have noticed yourself feel certain ways about your own content, and it speaks to your own self-awareness.
Yeah, and I think that I think people can really benefit a lot by being more self-aware or asking themselves what's going on with my emotions whenever they're doing anything, right? So if you can introspectively ask yourself, hey, how am I feeling right now? And figure out why you're feeling that way, especially, if it's on social media or if it's maybe doing a task for somebody else or if it's doing some sort of work that you don't want to do. Like, what are the emotions that are invoked in you when you're trying to do that thing? And try to address the emotion rather than, I guess, like, here's a great example. Like, when I'm procrastinating on something, it's not because I don't want to do the work. It's because I'm dreading some type of emotion that comes with the procrastination. Like maybe I'm not good at whatever I'm about to do or what task I'm trying to do. So I just kind of put it off. And so why am I not good at it? Well, probably because I haven't spent a lot of time doing it, or I worry about the result that might come from it. So that's kind of why you put things off. So if you can kind of address the underlying emotion or why you're feeling that way, it can be a little bit more helpful when you want to get something done, I would say. Or so self-awareness is key, I think.
So kind of switching gears a little bit, I wanted to ask you about what you would do differently if you were to go back in starting your content creation journey. Would you do everything exactly the same, or would you do things differently?
I would say the only thing that I would have done differently early on was start cross-pollinating all my other platforms. At first, I was very just solely focused on TikTok alone. And if people wanted to come to my Instagram page, it was just my personal Instagram page. I didn't create a separate one or anything like that. And I didn't really have a YouTube when I started TikTok. Like, I had a YouTube, but I didn't really make any content on there. And so it's been kind of a slow, gradual buildup of all the content I make on all the different types of platforms. But I think that early on, if I was able to cross-pollinate all the types of content platforms, that I probably would have more the success would be compounded. But that's okay. I don't really, you can't take it back. So that would be really the only thing. I was pretty happy with the fact that I actually stuck to making a video a day for that long. And I thought I was going to make it the whole year, but I just really got burnt out after I hit 1 million followers. I was like, holy crap. But yeah, that would be the only thing I'd say is, more self-promotion. And I'm not a very self-promoting type of person. I don't like talking about myself. I don't like taking selfies. I don't like, posting about what I'm doing. I don't like posting about my possessions and stuff on social media, even though that is kind of like a cheap and easy way to get followers, in my opinion. Like if you have a nice car, you can just post your car, right? And if you have a nice watch, I have nice watches. I don't post them. I don't want people to know I've got nice nice watches.
They know now.
Well, they know now, but they don't know what they are. But basically, yeah, like I was not very good at self promotion or selling myself, right? And so that's something I've kind of had to learn and be comfortable with. And I'm still working on that. But yeah, my only regrets are, if you can even call them regrets, is just not cross pollinating sooner enough or diversifying sooner enough.
Yeah, but that makes a lot of sense. And it leads me to ask you, how have you gotten better at self-promoting yourself? Because that's basically what you do now, is just record videos of yourself and then promote yourself to get people to watch you. So how have you gotten better at that skill?
So I'd say I still stay really true to my principles, which is I'm trying to stay humble, and I'm trying to be giving advice that is, or good educational advice that is not too salesy, right? I've always never wanted to be super salesy. So genuine advice, because I don't think I can push out something that I don't believe in. But in terms of self-promotion, one of the things I did was I started a completely separate Instagram page, because I didn't really I felt like my personal friends, especially the 500 people that follow me on Instagram, probably didn't want personal finance content being shoved down their throats when they didn't ask for it. You know what I mean? Like if I just started posting like videos every day on my personal feed, I probably would have alienated some of my friends. Even though they're all really proud of me and they're all really like happy for me these days, but like, when you only have like 50,000 followers on TikTok, or maybe like 1,000 followers on TikTok, they might be a little bit more like, oh, why is this guy post? I don't know. I worried a little bit too much about what people thought of me, I would say. And then I still do sometimes, but I basically created a separate Instagram page that was just for personal finance. And I actually found that gave me a lot more freedom in whatever I could post. And I felt like, because it was my official Instagram page, that my friends that did follow me onto my official one were okay seeing that type of content. But that was like a big thing for me. It was like, oh, should I be posting, in what I felt was like work content on my personal account? And so that kind of made me feel a little bit bad. I don't know why. It's probably irrational. But for me, it helped separating Instagram. So now I have a completely separate Instagram, and it's connected to my YouTube, and it's connected to my TikTok. So, and YouTube, I don't have a hard time, promoting myself on. I guess, if I could do more self-promotion, it would just be more like Instagram posts of myself, which still make me feel uncomfortable. But usually I'm pretty proud of, now I am proud of the work that I put out. So back in the day, maybe like if you talked to me in January, like I wouldn't want to be posting my shitty YouTube video to my Instagram followers because the quality sucked at the time. The audio was bad. I stuttered a lot. Maybe I just wasn't as proud of the video, or didn't have that confidence with the video. But these days, like, I watch my videos, I'm like, oh, this is a pretty good video. Like, if I was just a random ass person stumbling across my video, I'd be like, oh, that's impressive. So now I'm like proud of the videos I put out. So I don't have a problem self-promoting it. It's almost like self-belief really kind of got me to more self-promotion, I guess. More confidence in myself really let me self-promote myself a little bit better, or feel comfortable doing that, because I think it was just all in my head, right? I think nobody cares, just you care. So that is how I got better at that.
I think you committed to the process of, I'm going to be posting this, and then naturally you got better and better. The quality got better and better, and because the quality got better, you start to realize, oh, this is actually good stuff, and so you start to care less. And it makes perfect sense, and you'll see this happen all the time. If you commit to the process, then it leads to great results, but only if you commit to that process. And so going back to the habits that we were talking about earlier, one of your TikTok videos was about the 2-day rule, and that's just never missing twice. And so talk to me a little bit about the habits that you're currently doing, and that And talk to me about the 2-day rule and how that's been helpful to you so far.
Yeah, so the 2-day rule is from it's from some book or something like that, but it was popularized by another YouTuber named Matt Davella. And Matt Davella is a huge YouTuber. I mean, he's got like 3 million subscribers. He's big on habits and he's big on minimalism. He makes really beautiful videos. But I learned the 2-day rule from watching one of his videos back in the day. Initially, at the beginning of this year, that's all I wanted to do was make a TikTok video every day. So that wasn't part of the 2-day rule. That was just everyday rule. And I wanted to go to the gym without missing 2 days. And I wanted to read without missing 2 days. I didn't stick to the reading. That one went right out the window. I think it was like January 12th, and I missed like 3 days. I was like, okay, I'm not reading.
I'm never reading again.
Well, like I read every day, like the Wall Street Journal or a lot of online publications, but I have a really hard time reading physical books and getting into physical books unless it's something that's very nonfiction and self-help, or nonfiction and it's something that speaks to me, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But then the gym, I was actually keeping up with the gym 2-day rule, like not missing more than 2 days in a row until about quarantine when I couldn't go to the gym anymore. So that was actually a good habit that I had all the way up until like March 20th or something like that. And I actually kept up with the 2-day rule with the working out until I think it was like mid-April, and I got sick for like 4 days. And so I basically took the 4 days off. And then since then, without the gym and without, I've just been kind of I don't do that anymore. So I still try to work out 3 or 4 times a week, but I give myself a break if I can't make it every other day.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your question about how my habits have changed this year, I always vary up my goals and my habits. So after I stopped making a TikTok video a day, that was last month, I kind of had to reevaluate what my goals were, and also basically create habits or create some sort of plan for whatever my future goals are. And I'm still working through that right now, but essentially what I've kind of boiled it down to is I'm still going to make 5 pieces of TikTok videos a week. So I'd like to do Monday through Friday, always posting a video, and more if some sort of fun idea comes to me, I'll post an extra one or an extra 2. And then I'd like to make 1 or 2 YouTube videos a week. I'd like to get it to 2, but I am a little bit behind on my content. So with YouTube videos, since they take so long, I'm trying to basically get 1 or 2 weeks kind of in the what's it called, like in the background, like basically already have them preloaded. So this week I shot 2, and I'm going to have 1 coming out today and 1 for next Tuesday. And then tomorrow or Friday, I'm going to work on another one for the following Thursday. So I want to get a week ahead, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just going to keep putting out 2 a week. So those are my goals till the end of the year. So I kind of reassessed what my goals were right after I hit the 1 million followers on TikTok last month. And I've kind of set this next 3-month kind of journey as like a new habit system and a new kind of way to approach things for content creation. Keep in mind, I still have some other work. Like I still do some consulting for some e-commerce companies, and that's kind of been going on this whole year. And I have my own other e-commerce company that just started, but it's not doing very well, admittedly, because I've just been so focused on the content creation. So, I have a lot of stuff I'm doing, and I think that I'm trying to focus most of my time into the biggest pieces that I think are going to make the largest impact. Kind of like the 80-20 rule that people talk about, like spend most of your time doing the stuff that gives you the most results.
So for you found that to be TikTok videos and YouTube, it sounds like, from what you just said?
Yeah, I realized that on TikTok, I'm one of the largest personal finance creators, so I want to cement my position still as one of the largest TikTok creators, and the only way to do that is to keep making videos. So initially, my first goal after I hit 1 million subscribers or followers on TikTok was like, okay, maybe I'll just make 3 a week, right? 3 is very doable. It is pretty easy. But now I realize, okay, I still want to remain at the top of the personal finance kind of community. on TikTok because I'm already there, so I might as well just make 5 a week. And I'm going to figure out a way to make 5 a week to do that, because as TikTok grows as a platform and hopefully it doesn't get banned, if you're the largest kind of guy on TikTok or whatever that platform may be, you're just going to get opportunities that you wouldn't be able to get if you weren't, at the top. Because when a brand kind of goes to TikTok, they're thinking, okay, who are the top guys in this niche? They're not going to go for the guy. I mean, they might have some sort of micro influencer strategy, but in general, the bigger brands are going to be paying a lot. We'll probably just go like, okay, well, who's the biggest guy on TikTok, right? They'll type in their Google or whatever, and they might stumble upon my account, which is very helpful. So I kind of I figured because I've already gotten so far with TikTok, I might as well keep most of my efforts on TikTok. And then YouTube is another big piece to me because I think it has a lot of potential. I don't make a ton of money on YouTube right now, which is fine. I make the videos because I actually like making the YouTube videos the most. They're the most fun to me. I don't know why. They feel like mini projects or mini masterpieces every time I put them out, even though, they probably aren't, but whatever. But I feel like YouTube is one of those platforms that if you're bigger on YouTube, everything kind of takes care of itself as well, right? Like if you have 100,000, 200,000 subscribers on YouTube, you're given a lot of opportunities. You have a lot more flexibility. The AdSense money is there so that you're not really too worried about putting food on the table anymore and paying for rent. You're just kind of making videos for fun. So that's kind of why I still grow the YouTube. And the TikTok is just there so that I feel like those two channels are going to be the heaviest hitters for me, especially in the next year. So that's why I want to devote more time to them. If that makes sense.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Is there any reason why you don't have a personal website? I know you're super busy, but I tried to find one for you and I couldn't find anything, and I was kind of surprised, honestly.
Yeah, I've been thinking about making one, and the only reason I don't have one is because I don't really have much more premium content other than the TikTok and the YouTube. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people that have personal websites, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but some of my YouTube friends have them because they're trying to offer premium content or premium courses or a premium experience, like a mentorship group or something like that. And I don't really offer any of those offerings yet because I'm still just trying to get my head above water when it comes to content creation. But it is something I do want to offer in the future, some sort of premium type of content or premium kind of like experience, if you will. So that's the only reason why I don't have a personal website. Probably just one, I don't really have any time. I haven't really prioritized it. But, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I mean, I'm sure you come across a lot of people with personal websites, and I'd love to hear, what do they put on them? Do they need to offer a premium service? Or do you think that just having one is like kind of like the new business card of this generation? What do you think?
Yeah, so the way I look at a personal website is just a home page and a way to center yourself and a way for people to find you and a way for Google to find you as well. And I look at it way more like a long-term investment, right? So Google is the biggest search engine in the world, obviously, and YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world. If you want to, I guess, create personal finance content that people are going to want and consume in 2025, a personal website makes a lot of sense because that can be another way they can find you. So that's kind of how I think about it, is like, I assume people are still going to be using Google in 2025. I assume that good content is still going to be the thing that people are going to want to hold on to. And I look at it like as a way to ground yourself, not so much as a way to sell things, but that's also possible. And yeah, I just think that it's important, but at the same time, you seem to be doing really well and you seem to know where you're going. So I think it's just one piece to the pie. That
for sure. I do think you're right about that. I think the earlier you start one, probably the better, especially if you're doing stuff like the stuff that I'm doing, which is content creation or where your personal brand is attached to it. fair point. I do think that I should probably work on one then. And yeah, it can't hurt, right? Like, if anything, it's there. It's kind of a place where people can find you. It's not going to be, there's no downside. So I always like pursuing things that don't have downsides. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that has zero downside, right? Like you put up a personal website and nobody like checks it out. Like that's great. If 1,000 people start finding you because of it, that's also great, you know? So
right.
It's zero risk basically other than your time. But at the same time, is your time better spent on creating these videos? And, you know, it's a balancing act, I'm sure, to be in your position and to realize, okay, I need to put a lot of my time here as opposed to there. So
For
yeah,
sure.
I'm sure you'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out. I think that I can make one. It's probably just more prioritizing some time to do it. It's not like a big deal or anything. I do think that you're right on that. So thank you for calling me out on that. I will kind of make one, I guess. See you next week when I have a new website. But the other thing I want to bring up real quick was I've also been trying to take weekends off now. So when I was making all these videos, one a day or whatever, I wasn't really taking weekends off. Like I would take a day off here and there, but I would say the majority of time I was working one day on the weekend. And I think that was really getting to me. So that's another thing that I think that the listeners that could benefit from is to always schedule some time for yourself and some rest time, because I really found that it's helping me a lot, because before I was just like working all the time. It sucked.
So talk to me about that, and talk to me about how you decided to take weekends off as opposed to just one day. And what does that mean, taking it off? Does that mean you're taking off producing content? Does that mean taking off consuming content? Does that mean not looking at a screen? What does off mean to you?
No, I mean, I love video games, so I still play a lot of PC games. So like taking it off, just like I'm still going to look at my computer and read about stuff that I'm interested in. Taking off just means not feeling obligated to make anything. So, it also means that if I can push it to Monday, I will. So if there's something that I feel like I need to do that day, for example, for content creation, or like, let's say I'm trying to create a thumbnail for YouTube, right? I could do that on a Saturday morning. It'd be fine, but that is technically work. So I kind of want to push that to Monday and really try to just be present on the weekends, on my Saturdays and Sundays, to try to be social and to turn my brain off of work stuff. Because in the past, when I was working on like a Saturday or Sunday, it wasn't like I was completely in the zone working, but I would always kind of touch something that was work related, right? And I even did this last weekend, but I didn't really I guess I have a working problem, but just basically turning your brain off to a point where you're not even worried about work. And I think that because it'll always be there for you on Monday or whatever day you choose to work, but not having that time off, I realized, was kind of taxing after like a good 6 to 8 months of working one day a weekend. It felt like I was always obligated to do something, and I felt like if I wasn't doing something, I wasn't productive, and if I wasn't productive, I would kind of feel bad about it. So these days, it's kind of like recognizing that rest time is very important, and then you can actually probably get more done during the week when you have that proper rest time. That's not to say it's for everybody. I know that some people love to just be productive all the time. Some people don't want to work 6 days a week. Some people are perfectly good working 3 days a week, right? It really depends on who you are, but I kind of just wanted to try to have a weekend again, because I felt like even though I've been working for myself and I can technically take time off whenever I want, I always wanted to just be productive and do better. And so I found myself working more than a typical 9 to 5 would, especially when it comes to building something that's personal to you. When you're working 9 to 5 and you're working for someone else, you don't really have an incentive to kind of work harder, right? Like, yeah, you might want a promotion or something like that, but at the end of the day, you don't own the business. You're kind of working for somebody else, and you're not motivated to work weekends or nights, right? But when it comes to a personal brand, it's like the only thing that's stopping you is you. So that's kind of like, that was one of the things I had to deal with, is just managing my time better. It's all about time management, I think, when you want to work for yourself, and to build in some break time for yourself, because that's important, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. And you bring up working for someone, and you spent, looking at your LinkedIn, you spent a lot of time working for other people and being employed. And talk to me a little bit about how that, I guess, impacted your mind. Were you always chasing that freedom of owning your own business, or is this something you kind of just fell into? Like, how did that work from that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to run my own business. I think even when I was a kid, it was kind of drilled into me from my father. He was like, "Oh, you should own your own business," because I think my dad owned his own business when he was younger, right? He owned some sort of leasing company where he would lease airplane parts to airlines, and so I always liked the idea that he was working for himself, or not beholden to a boss or something like that. But when I was younger, I didn't really know what to do, and I wasn't really sure how to start. I mean, I think you and a lot of the other entrepreneurs that are listening, and a lot of the entrepreneurs that you've had on the podcast, you kind of already figured out that you wanted to work for yourself, or you kind of want to figure out that you already figured out that you wanted to be self-employed. Am I right? Like, so, for me though, I think I just, it's a confidence thing. I didn't really have the balls to do it when I was like 21. So what I did was I worked for other people, and that was fine. I was happy to work for other people, happy to make a paycheck, happy to kind of get my bearings, I would say, and kind of figure out how business worked. But I spent, from age 21 to 28 working for other people, and it was fine. I liked it. I actually, sometimes I wonder if if being self-employed is the right thing to do, but overall I do think it is. So, there are times when I doubt myself, and I think there are going to be times, if you are working for yourself, where you kind of take the plunge of working for yourself, or whether you were working for yourself and then, you go work for someone else, you kind of wonder, oh, is the grass greener on the other side? It's hard to say, so there are a lot of benefits to working for somebody else. Guaranteed paycheck is really nice. A guaranteed health insurance is really nice. A lot of benefits, a lot of peace of mind that you can't buy with being self-employed. And then there are a lot of pros of being self-employed and cons of being self-employed. So I don't know. I think as long as you're doing something that you enjoy and you're trusting your process and you're seeing results and growth, then whatever you're doing is good.
Totally agree. And I think that there's a tendency to, at least on Twitter, where a lot of people are, that you're referring to put down people who are working 9 to 5s. And it's so crazy to me, because everybody is different and everybody's wired different. And like you said, there's so many benefits to working 9 to 5. There's so many benefits for working for someone else, that it's important to say that. It's important to note, because if you're so of the camp that you need to work for yourself, you need to own your own business, it might lead you to not see other opportunities out there. So yeah, I don't think there's a one size fits all approach at all. And I think you got to play to your own strengths and play to yourself at this moment, because you at 23 was different than you at 32, right? So it's like you figure out yourself and learn yourself and try to become self-aware and ask, what do you need? And try different things, right? Like, you don't know what's going to work for you.
I would say try different things, but also you can, like, I assume a lot of people listening to this podcast want to be wealthy or rich at some point. There are a lot of paths to being wealthy or rich. It doesn't have to mean you drop everything and become an entrepreneur. Like some of the people on Twitter are bragging about how much they make. You can make way more working for somebody else, right? Like, let's say you worked 9 to 5 at a tech company, and that tech company goes public. You could make $30 million in a day. I don't know if you're in the right place at the right time. That's something that working for yourself, you might not have the opportunity to do that. You might have different opportunities that could get you to $30 million one day, in a big payday. But you see a lot of, I mean, I live in Silicon Valley, so I see a lot of, younger people in just interesting positions, and all of a sudden, if they have a massive windfall because some liquidation event happens, or the company gets acquired and they get paid out a little bit, or the company has a stock buyback or something like that. You can definitely make a lot of money in corporate culture as well. And, maybe it's not a liquidation event, but you can one day work up to like a VP of marketing or VP of sales, and all of a sudden your salary is $300K a year, $400K a year, and you've got a little bit of equity, but your costs are really low, and you're living below your means, and you're just stacking that cash, and then you buy some properties on the side. I don't know. There's a lot of paths to wealth. It doesn't mean you have to work for yourself, but I do think that there is this kind of culture on Twitter. That's why I kind of don't read that much Twitter anymore. Not that it's toxic or anything, but it's like I kept feeling bad if I wasn't making like 20 G's a day or something like that. Like, Jesus, like, who are these people making like 25K a day? Like, dude, is that normal? It's like one guy, and there's like 10,000 of them trying to do that. So it's rough, right? It's like, it's crazy. Like, I know that Twitter's better. Twitter's more for like self-promotion. Like, I feel like I'm not very. That's why I don't like Twitter, maybe. But it sucks. It kind of makes you feel bad when someone's like, "Yeah, I made 25K today." Like, holy shit, dude. Yeah, relax. Like, I made 25K in the last 6 months. Like, what the? It's tough, dude. So
yeah, I think that's
great to see. It's great to see. I love seeing when people make a lot of money and a lot of success is going their way. So it reminds me of what's possible, but it's definitely tough to read if you're in the comparison mindset, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think it's important, like you've said and stressed throughout this conversation, to just be self-aware and to understand how certain things affect you, and just be constantly asking yourself, is this helping me? Is this hurting me? And it's really easy to get sucked into a belief or a belief system, especially if you're young, right? Especially if you're 20, 21, 22, 23, like 25, that's what I am. And I'm young, and it's easy for me to be like, okay, that person's doing really well. What are they doing? And so I think it's important just to be self-aware. And yeah, I appreciate you so much bringing that self-awareness to this conversation. Before we wrap this up, Humphrey, do you have any parting pieces of wisdom? It seems like you've been through a lot. You've analyzed yourself. You've put out a boatload of content on the internet over the past year.
Shit, yeah.
So do you have any wisdom for the listeners of the Danny Miranda podcast?
Some wisdom. Well, what do most of your listeners kind of like to hear? Like, how would you describe your listeners, I guess? Because I might have a different piece of wisdom depending on who they are.
Well, I'm not sure, Humphrey. Anybody could be listening to this. It's probably just my grandma and my mom. So what would you tell them?
Oh, Danny's a pretty good interviewer. Let me think. I think I talked about a lot of it in this kind of podcast, which is, process over results. That's number one. So stick to the process, make habits, stay positive. I think that positivity really helps. I think that a lot of times you can get kind of negative and get into that comparison kind of mindset. But if you can stay positive and kind of focus on what you're doing, that's kind of all you can really do. Focus on the things you can control, not the things you can't control. And I read a lot of Stoic philosophy for this. There's there's writers or philosophers like Seneca and what's the other one? Marcus Aurelius, I think. And there's one more. God, I can't remember his name right now, but I have his book. Oh, Epictetus, I think is his name. So yeah, for me, it's all those things. So focus on the things you can control, stick to the process, not worry about the results. Good things will come. Positive mindset, kind of like believing that you can do it. Because that is a lot. A lot of what success is kind of believing that you can do it, and it happens first in the mind, and then you can kind of execute on it and see what happens. And also, the last other piece of advice or parting wisdom is that things take a lot of time. And I think that in the past, I've been guilty of wanting success fast. It's always like fast. Can I get it now? This guy's making 25K. I want to make 30K, right? A day. But I know that in reality, it takes a very, very long time. So it's kind of maintaining perspective and giving yourself a longer time period than, let's say, a year, right? Just like you said, when creating a personal website, by 2025, if I had a website for the past 5 years, it's probably going to be humming along versus, if I start one next week, it's not going to look great next week. It might not even be anything next week. But over time, good things will come. If you just got to maintain that perspective, I would say. So yeah, those are my parting thoughts.
Dude, that was great, and if I could retweet that, I would. It was it was a great conversation talking to you. Tell everyone where they could find you on the internet, Humphrey.
Yeah, if you want to find me on YouTube, it's just Humphrey Yang. I bet if you just typed in Humphrey, it would pop up because my name's weird. And then TikTok, Humphrey Talks, Instagram, Humphrey Talks, Twitter, Humphrey Talks, but I don't check Twitter, so you can at me all you want. I'm not going to read it. But that's where they can find me. If I respond to all Instagram DMs eventually. But if they want to DM me on Instagram at Humphrey Talks, if they have a personal finance question or a habit question or anything like that, I'd be happy to get back to them. And then, YouTube and TikTok, that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and it was a real great conversation. And
yeah, thanks for having me on.
Really appreciate it.
Got a great podcasting voice, and I hope the podcast grows and becomes fruitful. And I see that you're posting 2 or 3 a week, so I hope that you stick to that process as well.
That was my conversation with Humphrey Yang. If you enjoyed it, let me know on Twitter at @HeyDannyMiranda. And if you want to support me further, feel free to sign up for my newsletter, Tuesday Treasure. You can find that at DannyMiranda.com/Tuesday. That's all for today, folks. I hope you have a wonderful day filled with love and laughter and happiness. And also, thank you for listening until the final seconds. I appreciate you truly, and have a great one.